Well, hello everyone. Oh my gosh, we had technology issues this evening. And oh my gosh, I'm glad that's over. And because we have such an awesome show lined up for you this evening, I am so excited. I am excited. I have with me tonight some incredible young ladies, and I tell you, we are going to have a good time tonight. So, welcome to Educational Moments with Dr. Naita. I'm so glad you're here. I'm here, you're here, we're here, and we're going to have a great time. So again, I have an awesome evening lined up with for this evening, and again, I have some incredible young ladies who are just going to share so much. So without delay, I know you're tired of seeing me. I am going to bring on some incredible ladies. But look, let me show you what came in the mail. Look at that. What? I have my own cup now. Watch out. So I am so happy, and it has a lot of good, refreshing water in it. So with that, I just heard the doorbell ring. I just heard the doorbell ring. And what do you know? Here's some beautiful young ladies coming to the table. Yes, yay!
Hi.
Everybody, love to these beautiful young ladies. I'm just so excited that they are here. I think you can hear all that clapping. But I am just so appreciative that you all are here. So what I'm going to do is I want to introduce everyone. I want everyone to go around, introduce yourself, and just tell everyone who you are, maybe your career field, and that's it. We'll start with that. We have a few things lined up, but let's just start there. So we'll start at the top. My top, I see Antonisha. So if you go first, Ms. Baker.
All righty. Hi, everyone. I'm Antonisha Baker. I am an intellectual property, entertainment, and entrepreneurship attorney here in the state of Florida.
Yes, very good. Chelsea.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Partridge. I am an engineer at Kennedy Space Center, and I was also recently elected as one of my county's supervisors for the Water and Soil Conservation District.
That's what's up. That is awesome. Welcome, Chelsea. Miss Elise, it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you. Good to see everyone. My name is Helitz Villegas. I work at an organization called the Tahiri Justice Center, and I serve as the Forced Marriage Initiative Project Associate. I essentially am the case manager, victim advocate for survivors of forced marriage and or those who are fleeing and or needing support who are facing that type of harm.
Wow. That's something. So you know what, Elise, we're gonna let you kick it off. We're gonna let you start. So my first question to you, to all the ladies, and everyone will get a chance to share, is what has been your educational and your career journey that has you where you are today? And Elise, you can start.
Sure. So I did really well in high school, I think partially because I knew that I needed to have some kind of scholarship to be able to make it to college, and knew that I always wanted to be in a field where I was helping people. I just didn't know exactly what that would look like. And, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida, and I stayed home. I went to the University of North Florida and majored in sociology, and that really sparked the interest in learning more about people and how they work, and how their background affects them and how systems affect them and things of that sort. And pretty quickly after graduating, it took me a little more than 5 years. I was working also at the same time and needed to support myself. I very quickly entered the victim advocacy space. So began working with mainly women and children who had faced domestic violence, sexual abuse, and from there just mainly stayed in that field. I did leave for a couple of years. It's actually how I met Naita, working in high But I quickly came back to the advocacy space.
Yes, and what an incredible work you are doing. So kudos to you. Kudos to you. Very good. Miss Chelsea, tell us, what has been your academic and your career journey?
Sure. So I went to high school at Robert E. Lee High School in Jacksonville, Florida, and did dual enrollment in the early college program, and went to Florida State College at Jacksonville, got my AA. And then I went to the University of North Florida as well and got my degree in mechanical engineering. It took me 4 years, even though I had the AA because of prereqs and all that. But I knew since I was in high school, I wanted to work at Kennedy Space Center. And when I graduated, I got a job at Lockheed Martin working as a test engineer on the Orion spacecraft. And so I've been doing that for 5 years and just recently accepted a job doing project engineering, still within my company, still on the same spacecraft. Recently, I decided to serve my community further and run for office. And I decided to run for the Soil and Water Conservation District because I'm very passionate about the environment and nature and just kind of the beauty of Brevard County where I live now, and ran unopposed and won. So I started that in January.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love it. I love it. Okay, Ms. Baker. Talk to us.
Okay, so I am also a general. I graduated from Robert E. Lee Senior High School. I actually met Dr. Naida while I was in the early college program. She may not remember this, but I remember coming into her office with a whole list of all the classes I knew I needed to take to become an attorney. I had the whole catalog from FSU. I was like, this is what I need to do. I already know what I want to do. And I ended up finishing my AA while at Lee, and then I went to the University of South Florida. Go Bulls! I finished my degree in business management towards the top of my class in 2 years, and from there I went straight to law school. I graduated from Emory University School of Law with a certification in transactional law. I was actually the youngest graduate of my centennial class. I finished at about 22. So I know when I was in law school, what I say here a lot is, why are you here? You're a baby. Take some time. But I kind of went through the whole thing because I felt like if I stop, I'm not going to go back. I don't want to go back to school and get into these books. So I have to just keep going. As far as my professional career, I actually battled for a long time between academia and practicing law. When I was in law school, I was like, I don't really know if I want to practice, but I love to teach. So I started teaching at Emory's Business School while I was in law school. I loved it, loved my students. But then I actually did take the route to go and practice, and I found a love for intellectual property law. I specialize specifically in trademarks. And so for the last 3 or 4 years now, that's what I've been doing. I took a couple detours. So I did go back into academia, and I was a director of a law school. But it was still tugging at my heartstrings. Like, you know what? There's so much I want to do, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it all. So I am currently teaching and practicing law. I have a firm of my own. I have a consulting company as well. So for me, it's always just been like trying to find that balance. I'm a bit of an overachiever, so it gets in the way at times because I'm trying to have 15 million careers when I'm only one person. But that's been a bit of my academic and career journey.
Awesome. Yes. Kudos to all of you young ladies. I'm so proud of each of you. I wanted to share my screen for just a moment. And I just want to look at some of the this data, if you can see it. Can you see where I have listed? I don't think you can. Yes, there it is. I can see it. Where it says that women hold 49.5% of payroll jobs, and that's in America. Says women are the primary caretakers of children and elders in every country of the world. Increasing women and girls' educational attainment contributes to women's economic empowerment and more inclusive economic growth. And I want to end with this, saying that throughout history, women have made extraordinary contributions to their societies. Some are well known, some less so, but all have been trailblazers. So this is why I wanted to bring these young ladies tonight, because they are our next generation of trailblazers. And you've already heard some of the things that these young ladies are doing. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty and talk about some of the obstacles and just the different things that that challenge them on a day-to-day basis. So let's start with you, Miss Chelsea, Miss Engineer at NASA, right? What has been some of the greatest obstacles that you have had to face as a female in your field?
Gosh, kind of being a female in my field is like the greatest obstacle in a sense. Even when I was in school, I mean, there wasn't too many women that were studying engineering. There were some, but there wasn't a lot. And when I started working, I was the only woman on my team, and I was for most of this past 5 years. Only the first women have joined doing mechanical testing in the past few months. So it's been 5 years, just me. And you know, in my workplace, the people I work with, they're all great, but just being kind of the only woman and going through a male dominated field, it kind of started when I decided I wanted to be in engineering, when I started having to overcome obstacles because I was a female. And that was the only reason why I had these obstacles, were that people didn't think I could be an engineer because I was a woman. People didn't think I should do that, or they made me kind of like they didn't believe I could do it, and I had to work harder. You know, you have to work twice as hard to be seen as just as good kind of scenario. So that was probably the biggest obstacle for me when I was in college, and kind of, at least I felt I had to kind of prove myself when I was first starting out. Now I don't have that problem so much now that I've been working for a while, but that was probably the biggest obstacle I had to overcome, kind of in my own mind. Some of it might have been me wanting to prove myself a little bit, but definitely just, you know, kind of getting used to being the only woman and being the person that kind of stood out in the group.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. So, Antonesia, what are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome, whatever, you know, be it in school, be it in the workplace?
I think the fact that I am so young, in addition to being a female, it causes people to not necessarily take me as seriously. So I have to find myself being a bit more, sometimes a bit aggressive, so that way, you know, they'll recognize, like, you know, she's not just a baby in the room, or she's not just, you know, the little girl or the intern lookalike that's sitting at that boardroom table with CEOs and, you know, deans of law schools and all of those things. So I've had to really, really like step it up and speak up for myself a lot more in my profession, simply because even though we see so many female attorneys, being a female attorney and being African American, that makes up only about 2% of the legal profession in this country. So we still have a very, very long way to go. So I find sometimes that, you know, people don't necessarily take me seriously, or all the work and effort that you put in. Not saying that, you know, we need a pat on our back all the time. However, you know, it's nice to receive that recognition every now and then for all of the hard work that you put in. And sometimes I know in the legal profession, especially when you're considered maybe like a baby lawyer, because, you know, you have 5 years, they don't want to necessarily take you seriously. And when you're right, like I've had to go toe to toe sometimes with like my managing, when I worked at other firms, so like the managing partners and things like that, because like I'm right. They don't want to admit that I'm right. But I'll see it when they implement the things that I say. And sometimes, you know, they take the credit for it, and it's like, oh, you got to take one for the team. Just take one for the team. You know, we know that you did it. Kind of like, And I'm sure that the other ladies can attest to this as well, being female in your profession, where you're working so hard, and they kind of just want all of that to be on the back end. They'll tell you how much they appreciate it, but it's never really recognized or things like that. So I think that's something that I've had to face.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. And that is something that, take it for the team. But if it was somebody else, then they get the recognition. So,
Right.
We, as a young woman, you do have to stand up for yourself. But take it for the team, but this one's mine.
Right.
All right. Ms. Elise, what are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome in your educational and career journey thus far?
Yeah, so I think that if I focus on the victim advocacy space, it's actually really different than what you both have shared, because the majority of the folks who I've always been working with have been women. So it's not necessarily that any of the women or manager supervisors have been roadblocks, but really like the system itself or how it's constructed. If you're working, let's say, at an agency that receives most of the funding from the government, and you are trying to dismantle systems that are created by the government, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to do the work when it's already shaped. The brand is shaped in a way that limits the way that you can work with folks or the things that you can actually do. And also, because it is a field that folks go into, you're not going to, let's say, make a lot of money, but at the same time, it's still a profession. You still have requirements in education that, and background experience, etc. It's really easy for agencies, for supervisors to just give you more and more work because you care, and there's always people who need help, which then, leads to not being able to do a lot of the systems work. You're always dealing with people, which is great, is what we want to do, but we also need talent to actually do systems advocacy so that there's not another person, right, and another person. So it's a bit different from what you share, but also thinking of how it's just constructed. The system itself is challenging for the designer.
Right. Well, when you were speaking, it reminded me of a saying that I've always heard, and that is, you can't destroy the master's house using the master's tools. So when you're, trying to fight against oppression, against women, and against systems that are in place, you're using their resources to run your program in the first place. So it does become a bit of a challenge, So kudos to you. And I do understand, that you start working, and because we are all hardworking women, young women, not so young here, but we're all hardworking, and we're compassionate, and we're passionate about what we're doing. They keep putting more on you and more on you. And you can do one more. Well, what's one more caseload? What's one more? So, but yes, all of those things, everything that you all have mentioned, definitely describes some of the obstacles that you have had to face. So with these obstacles, where does this passion come from? Where does the passion come from to keep persisting, to keep on, to demand that, my work be acknowledged, to demand that we as a department, we as a program pursue different avenues? Where does the passion and the love and the drive for what you do, where did that come from? What is your passion? And I think Ms. Baker, I think it's your turn to start.
Okay. So my passion in terms of the practice of law, I love intellectual property. I like to help people make their visions come alive. A lot of my clients, they get so excited when I'm talking to them and I'm asking them, well, why did you want to start that company? Or what inspired you to make that brand name or make that your logo? And just to see how excited they get when they're talking about their dream. It's like, okay, well, let's make that dream a reality. And we're going to start out by me helping you set your legal foundation. That way, when you get out there, you can take off like a rocket. And I just love seeing my clients be so successful with it. Something that motivates me is probably the fact that I am like my toughest critic. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, or it's never good enough. And I thank God for my support team, because they look back, and sometimes I had my best friend, she called me the other day and she was just like, you know what? I am so proud of you. Like, you are out here doing it. And I was just like, no, I'm not. Like, I have this going on and I need to do this. And she's like, no, you need to just take a step back and take it in. So having those kind of people in my life really helps keep me grounded, and it keeps me motivated.
Very good. Very good. Miss Chelsea.
Yeah, so my passion comes from, I guess I've always just loved the space, and ever since I was a little kid, and I've always like dreamed about, being an astronaut, or, going to the moon or something like that when I was young. And so when I got older, it kind of became a natural thing for me to want to study science and stuff. I've struggled with math a lot in my youth, so it took me a long time, up until my junior year in high school was really when I started convincing myself I could do this, and tried to then take my passion for space and science and make a life out of it. And I love feeling like I'm making a difference, like I'm helping humanity, and that I'm also helping kind of trailblaze for other women to do the same, since not a lot of women study engineering. And I go and I work a lot with students, and I talk. I'm a first generation college student, so I go to classes and I try to talk to students that were like me and maybe never imagined themselves doing this. But when you tell them, that you were just like them when they were young, and that you're here doing these cool things, and you see them get excited, like, oh my gosh, I can be an engineer, or I could do this, that, whatever dream that they thought was impossible, now they're seeing can be possible. That's another thing that just is so incredibly rewarding and drives me and keeps me inspired and keeps me going.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Elise, what's your passion? You started in victims advocacy, you left for a little while, now you're back. What drives that? What is that motivation?
Yeah, so I like to start actually by going a little bit more into the obstacles as both of the other panelists were going. It just made me think that, in facing a lot of the obstacles, especially being, I would say young or quickly right after college, like getting into the field, I really, I had a drive. I was so excited, but I didn't have any sort of mentorship. I didn't know what would be like the best practice in the field, right? I just knew maybe from reading class, but not necessarily having the actual experience. So that I'm mentioning that because I think it's really important for me to also be like open and realistic with just how difficult that having the obstacles, and then being in the field, and then having to pause and figure out, well, I want to be in this field, but why? Why do I care, right? Why do I want to be in this space? What do I want to actually do? And then how do I actually not allow the obstacles or changes that are happening around me, managerial changes, grant changes, how do I not allow that to affect me? Which early on, it affected me a lot. It affected me, a lot when you're switching managers, or you're being switched from positions, or things are just changing around you, and you feel that lack of stability. So I think it's just important to share, because I'm sure we've all had those moments of doubt. And for me, even though the passion has always been there, when you lack stability in the workplace, or when you're worried about your grant, or you're worried about, gosh, am I ever going to really get a raise, because you only get like a 10-cent raise, every year, or the fact that you speak, I speak Spanish, the fact that you speak another language, you don't get credit for it. So it's maybe seen as another skill that you bring, and but at the same time, I'm saving the company money, right? But there's no compensation, right? So it's difficult not not to get hung up on that. So I think it's really important. I like this question because I think it makes me really reflect and think a lot about, well, why do I do the work that I do? And then how do I keep that in my mind? So when obstacles come, so when things are not going the best way possible, I don't go back to a place of doubt and perhaps not bring my full self in space. So for me, the simple answer is that I want to make a positive impact. I want to, I've been in a space now where I'm seeing folks who they have a voice, but they're just not being heard. And it's that instead of being bothered by the fact that there's always another person not being heard, I think that fuels the fire, gives me a little bit more like that anger of why do you need me to speak to this person? They have a voice, you're listening to them, right?
Right.
So really that drive to want to make a positive impact.
Awesome. That is incredible. So can each of you share, what's one thing that you can say, I did that. I did that thing. I'm proud of myself. Tell me one thing. Like, yeah, I did that. What's one thing? Halise, you get to go first. One thing.
The first thing that comes to mind is, actually taking that leap and leaving Florida. Florida has been home to me since I was 11 years old. And it's a comfort. It's what I know, what I knew these systems, I knew how they worked, I knew the agency. But I noticed I kept hitting a cap. Like there, for me to move on to a next level, it's just I was applying, but I was getting the roles, and again keep hitting that cap. And I, took the leap of applying for this role. The agency, was really neat. It was working with, folks who had faced gender-based violence. It was really exciting. And just applying, I think, was the thing that gave me the most excitement.
It is.
And it wasn't, the agency next door. And if I get it, I'm going to move. And now 2 years later, I'm like, oh, wow.
Look at me now. Look at me now. I am helping women from all over the world come out of horrific conditions and situations. That is awesome. Congratulations, Halise. Miss Chelsea, tell me one thing.
Testing the Artemis 1 spacecraft from beginning to end.
Okay, tell us about that.
When it came into the door, and I'll be there when it leaves. So the Artemis 1 spacecraft is the next Orion that will launch. It will not have crew on it, but is the goal of Orion in the Artemis program is to return people to the moon. So and take the first woman to the moon. Woman's never been to the moon. Artemis.
Will it be you?
Orion will be the spacecraft that'll do it. And to say that even though I'm moving and doing more project management type stuff, that I've tested an entire spacecraft from beginning to end, and spending way too many hours of my life probably on it. It's just an awesome thing. It's one of those things that'll be historic, and I can, maybe tell my grandkids some days, yeah, I did that.
That's right. My name is in the history books. Yes. That is awesome. Miss Baker.
Let's see. Okay, it's probably a combo. Passing the bar, and immediately after passing the bar, I became the youngest in-house counsel that my job had ever had. And I was told in law school, like, oh, you can't go out and go straight into being in-house counsel, or, oh, you may not be able to pass the bar, whatever the case is. So when I was finally able to put those three letters behind my name, and I got that in-house position right out of me passing the bar, I was like, okay, you got this. You can do this. Forget what everybody else is saying. Like, you got it. So that was probably what it is for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm so proud of you. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this tonight, but I am so proud of you, young ladies. That is so awesome. So tell me this, what are you doing to reach back? What do you, because I have this tattoo right here, and I keep it right here on my arm because every day before I go to bed, I look at this tattoo. It's the Sankofa bird. It's the African Sankofa. And what she is doing, her feet are firmly planted facing forward, but she is turning around, reaching back for the next generation. So I ask myself every day, what did you do for the next generation? If I haven't done something, then at least I'm going to text somebody or just to say, how are you doing today? You know, some young person. So that's my passion. That's what I do. Young people are my passion. I love teens. You know, I love being around teens. They are funny to me. And then students, I love it. That's just what I love to do. So that's mine. What do you do to turn around and reach back to the next generation? And I think Chelsea, you're first.
So I mentioned a little bit earlier, I work with students. I do a lot of going to classrooms, career days, clubs. A lot of this was in person pre-COVID, but I'm still doing it now through Zoom, which in some ways has even opened up the doors even more to reach out to students. So I'll talk to classes and try to inspire students about space and engineering. I reach back particularly to women and young girls and first generation college students to try to help them if they need help applying for college or just needing mentoring, anything like that. And I've been doing that for about 5 years now. And I just volunteer as much as I can. I volunteer hundreds of hours a year in the community. A lot of that is with students. And for the running for office side, I hope to do the same there too. I hope to try to help more women be inspired to get involved and either run or serve on boards in their community, things like that, because there's not a lot of women that do that either. And so
wow.
always looking to advocate for women, be a sounding board. Well, men and women, really anyone who needs the mentoring, but women and first generation students in particular.
Awesome. Thank you. And Tanisha.
So pre-COVID and all of my moving around with my career, I used to make it a priority to always go back to my high school and talk to those students. And I didn't necessarily always want to talk to the overachieving early college student. I used to tell, I call him my second dad, but my favorite teacher from Lee, Mr. Binyar, I tell him all the time, excuse me,
everyone's favorite teacher.
I want to work with them because I want to show them what they can become. And then I mentor a lot of law students and recent graduates from law school just to help them see, like, listen, if I could get through this, so can you. Like, there is nothing super special or extraordinary about me. If I could do it, you can too. And I'm going to be there for you throughout the whole time, because let me tell you something, law school will break you. So I try to encourage my mentees to not let it do that. So I tell them all the time, look, if you got to call me and cry, call and I'll just sit on the phone and see you while you cry. If you want to scream because you're frustrated, if you're nervous, whatever it is, pick up the phone and talk to me. And I don't just do that for the students that I know. I had a young lady reach out to me earlier this week, and she asked me, she now goes to Emory, where I graduated from. And she was like, do you mind if I share your information with other students? Like, I feel like you're very helpful. And I was like, of course. I was like, I didn't know you. Somebody, put you in contact with me. So I don't care. Give my number to you can give it to the whole student body if you want to. I'm here to help because I know how hard that can be, but I'm going to show you guys that you can get through it.
Yes, absolutely. Great. That is awesome. Elise, what do you do? Well, I mean, your life, your career is constantly giving back, but is there anything outside of the workplace that you are involved in and you're giving back?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, like most of the other amazing panelists, I'm definitely drawn to young people. It's so interesting. It's like the thread that I'm noticing. do a lot of volunteering. Certainly, I've noticed it's been a little bit less since I've moved. I'm still trying to figure out, where outside of my own workspace, right? But I noticed that I'm really drawn to those who are interning at the organization. That I supervise interns or an intern myself, and I have this need to really give a lot more time to them and to my interns, specifically, not just to teach about the role, but really to try and give information, feedback, that mentorship, because I was so hungry for that and still hungry for it when I didn't necessarily have a person that I myself was looking to as I'm growing in my field. So when I see someone young coming in, I know how difficult it can be when you're that person and you're so excited, but no one's necessarily maybe taking you seriously, or not really saying you're doing a good job, maybe telling you you're being too loud, instead of actually encouraging you to step into leadership.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how do you all maintain your balance? Because all of you are overachievers. All of you are driven by success, and you have visions and you have dreams for your life. But we do know that you do have to have that balance. You have to have a life. You have to date or hang out with friends. How do you maintain your balance? Oh, let's see, Antonisha.
Okay, this is actually the area of my life that I struggle in, so I'm probably going to need to take some pointers from the other panelists because I work 24/7. I recently, put it in place where I have to give myself one day off, whether that's a Saturday or a Sunday. I cannot do anything related to law. It's like a rule for me now, and sometimes I find it very hard to break that rule. I'm very bad when it comes to bed times. Like I'll tell myself, all right, I'm going to stop working at 10 o'clock. That way, I can get a good night's rest. And it'll be 2 or 3 in the morning and I'm still working. So I don't have that much of a great balance. I think putting in the place where I have those 24 hours where I won't do anything related to law. Most likely I'm in a coma sleep. So that's kind of what I do. And I think to help me maintain my balance, my best friends are attorneys as well. So sometimes we just take that time and we'll take an hour or so and we just have girl talk. And it's just like, let's just talk about the crazy stuff that we're experiencing because nobody else will believe us. So we just take those, that hour and a half to chat with each other and just be like, okay, we got this. Now let's get back to work.
Very good. So, but what I heard you say is the importance of having that friendship and having ladies around you. And that reminds me of another quote that let's see if I can find that quote. It's not coming up right now. My computer is freezing for some reason. Oh, it says, fill your life with women that empower you, that help you believe in your magic and aid them to believe in their own exceptional power and their incredible magic too. Women that believe in other women can survive anything. I like that. I like that. I wish I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I just read it. So, Elise, tell me, how do you maintain your balance? Because you are a married woman.
I am, and I've been with my husband for a really long time. We met when I was 19, so we've grown up essentially together, and at the same time as I'm growing with him romantically, I've been growing educationally and in my career. But I'm lucky that because of the field that I'm in, self-care has always been something that has been part of it, of education, of growing in the field. And for me, that's really, really important because when you're actively hearing, awful, horrific things that have happened to people, it's very easy to get that secondary trauma, to be impacted by it. And at the same time, when you're young getting into this field, you also may not have had time to really self-reflect of things that you have experienced and have gone through. So as you're growing and learning, you also start connecting your own life, right? Or things that have happened in your family. And so again, really easy to get secondary trauma. So I definitely think it's really important to find, that thing and name it, right? Like if it is once a week, I have to talk to my friends, for example, like what we just heard, right? Like I think it's really important to be able to name those things. For me, I have a work cell phone that I carry, but I'm not a hotline advocate. I'm not on call. So I have to put that line of, no, actually, like I do work until this time, unless I specifically make an appointment with someone after hours, because that's really the only time that they can safely speak. I have to be really firm with those boundaries so that, people know what to expect, right? If I say I don't answer on Sunday, then I can't just answer on a Sunday just because I decide to, you know what I mean? So keeping firm to the boundaries is part of the self-care, of the balance, and then I can do other things.
Very good. I'm posting that because I like that, because I was going to mention it as you said it, and that is boundaries, the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are vital, and we have to put them around ourselves so that and adhere to them ourselves so that we can continue to thrive. And if we say that we're going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, then still being up at 3 means we violated our own boundaries, the rules that we set for ourselves. So boundaries are vital. Chelsea, how do you maintain your balance?
I sometimes maintain it a little poorly, but my husband helps a lot with my ability to maintain my balance.
You did get married.
Yes, we've been married for a little over a year. We got married in May 2019. Thank you. Yeah, he's a lot more of a laid-back person than I am, so having him around helps me be more relaxed. It's kind of goes back to boundaries. I have to be very firm with myself, and sometimes with my employer, that I have times that I need to not be at work, because if I burn myself out, I'm not going to be an effective person. I'm not going to be effective for my company. I'm not going to be effective for myself or for my community. And if my goal is to, make change, I have to do what's best for me and keep myself from getting too burned out. So sometimes my volunteer work in the community is a good way to have balance between work and personal life, because I consider that volunteering to be a bit more personal. But I also have to have boundaries on that so I can spend time with my husband and with my family. And so I just make it a priority to have time that I'm not doing other things, and that I spend that time with my husband and my dogs or my sister. I have some girlfriends and some very close friends that I talk to. That way, when maybe the balance isn't going very well and I'm starting to feel that stress, you have somebody that you can kind of like talk to about it. So it's just something I continually have to prioritize, and sometimes I fail, but it's something I'm always working to.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, it is important that we as women take that time to time for self-reflection, time to walk on the beach, time to hang out with our friends, and even if I'm I struggle sometimes as well. I can preach it, and I can tell my staff, turn the computer off, go away. And if I send an email at 10 o'clock at night, I really am not expecting anyone to respond. I just want it to be the first thing they see when they get up the next morning. So when they respond, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you up? And it goes back to me. Why am I up? Why am I doing this? So it is important, though, that we do maintain our own health, our own sanity, our own mental space. And how do we do that? I think physical exercise, I say that every single week, physical exercise is vital. Getting up, walking around, pushing ourselves away from that computer, and then taking time to hang out with your girls, hang out with your friends. You have to have that space. Taking time to be with your significant other. Don't forget that person. You have to make time for that. And then, of course, making time for your families. So with that, it's going to lead. This has been wonderful discussion. So I do want to give everyone an opportunity to just share briefly what word of advice regarding any area that you're interested in. It doesn't matter, but what word of advice would you give to teens or young women or to parents of girls? What word of advice would you give them as far as following your dream, no matter how different it is from everybody else's in your families? What advice would you give to someone? So, Ms. Baker, you can go first.
Okay. With regards to young women and teens and their families, you do not have to conform to what it is that your family wants you to do. They want the best for you, of course, but sometimes they don't always know what's best for you. So dream big, whatever that is, go after it. You can achieve it. Doesn't matter if mom and dad doesn't think so, or grandma, auntie, whoever. That does not matter. It is your life to live. So you live it the way that you need to, and make that dream. I always tell people, they always like, oh, I have this dream. Let's work on making that dream a vision, and we're going to fulfill that vision.
Very good. I love it. Chelsea?
Believe in yourself and don't be so hard on yourself, especially for women. We get in our own heads so much, and we think we can't do something, that it's not possible, that we're not smart enough, or we're not whatever. We are very good at talking ourselves down and not thinking we can achieve things that we are very well capable of doing. Every single person is out there that is listening to this can achieve whatever it is they want to do, and just believe you can do it, and don't give up on yourself.
Very good. I love it. Helise?
Yeah, I think something that's been really powerful for me is to be self-reflective, to really spend time and just thinking and looking at my own self, and also looking at the past and reminding myself of times where I wasn't the best person, or I didn't give the best advice, or I wasn't the best supervisor, and not to necessarily dwell on those experiences, but to be better. And I would say to anyone, especially a young woman, a mom, that it's really admirable to do that inner work, to, spend time, healing from, whatever trauma, whatever situation they faced. If you find yourself constantly hitting the same roadblock, maybe it's time to do things a bit different. I love folks spending time working on their selves and their mental health. And there's a lot of courage, and it's really admirable to do that work.
Awesome. I appreciate everything you young ladies have shared today. I really believe that there were stories that were shared and ideas that you all passed on to one another, and passed on to anyone who is watching or will watch this broadcast, and just nuggets that people can take with them so that they can continue to do incredible things and follow those dreams and those visions that they have for themselves. I'm so proud of all of you. You all, the work that you all are doing is just phenomenal. So of course I have this one slide that I want to share. And I don't know why every time I do that, it does that. But this one slide I want to share, and it should come up. It's coming up. It's thinking, and it's taken from Maya Angelou, and it says, "I am woman, not a woman. I am woman. I am woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman. Yes, that's me. And that's each and every one of you. And I just want to thank you again for coming on to the show, for agreeing to come to the show. I think we had incredible dialogue, and you all are doing incredible work. And yes, all of your names will be written in history because of the work that you are doing. So kudos to each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any last comments anyone wants to share, anybody?
Give everyone a sanitized hug.
that virtual hug. Well, you all, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to just go ahead and end our segment, but give each other a hand and thank you again. I love you all, and you all take care. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.